They're coming. Despite them being over the horizon, I can feel it. They cut off our astropathic quad days before ever appearing in orbit. They fell on the northern hemisphere, and it took less than a day for them to overrun it. All contact was broken, so I knew that they were gone. I stand on these plains, these dust-strewn meters between us and them, waiting. I stand in a line with thousands of my fellow PDF, Planetary Defense Force. We will not stop them. But in the Emperor's name, maybe we will go down fighting. I can hear them now, as the ground shakes. Their hideous Xenos chittering fills the air so much that we can make it out even from this distance. We were never trained for this. Defense of the planet, of course. Corsairs, raiders. But not this. Tyranids. I think that is what someone called them. Oh, I've seen them picked, but thought they were just scare tactics. Propaganda from the governor to keep us all in line. "'Tis you're told that the Xenos will get us." Never did I actually think they existed. How could the Emperor permit such as these to exist, to threaten his people? If they are here, where are his angels of death? Thoughts that could get me shot, get me burnt. But what does it matter now? We are all dead. As they crest the horizon, I see a tsunami of claws and teeth and pincers charging towards us. What is worse? The air begins to darken as their hordes approach. I look up and see them. Thousands, perhaps hundreds of thousands of wasp-like but leathery winged things in the air. Some of them are huge if I can see them from this distance, but with tiny flies all around them. Again, they must be the size of a man if I can see them from this distance. Nothing of ours flies out to meet them. It seems all of our air wing must have been sent to the northern hemisphere. We are screwed. The very ground begins to shake with their advent. I can see the very sands and dust in front of me shake and bounce. But it is not them. It is something else. Something beneath us. I'm covered with a shadow, and a strange whining sound above me makes me look up. My eyes widen. My jaw slackens as I gaze in awe at yet another horror. Were the bugs, the Tyranids, not enough? Huge Xenos pyramids with glowing green lights descend out of the sky, a line of them that must number in the hundreds. It covers our lines entirely. Panic ensues. How do the bugs have spaceships made of a shifting metal? How? Thought they were bugs. Oh, a shock to the core. But nobody is moving. Despite some moaning and whispering prayers to the master of mankind, the Emperor, we are rooted to the spot. It's over. But they do not land on us. They are moving in front of us. Just far enough for them to not squash us. And the ground now erupts into mountains of things that are slightly different, like fatter pyramids, break through the surface all around us, before us. They were beneath us all this time. They were underground. The bugs are still charging. I do not know what to do. Nobody does. We just stand there agog, paralysed. And then it begins in earnest. The flying Tyranids launch themselves forward like a dark and hungry thunderhead. But these pyramids just move towards them and begin their work. Flashing lights of green seem to whip from the pyramids, sizing entire swathes of the Nids like dark tech fly swatters. Nothing is passing them. Nothing is falling from the skies, though. These green beams and crackles of energy are just evaporating, disintegrating everything they touch. Some of the Tyranids are drawn into weird light distortions in front of the pyramids, like whirlpools of energy. They simply disappear inside these vortices. The fatter ones, the ones near the ground that burst from under us, They move forward directly into the hordes and start to annihilate everything. I can see huge tyranids being crushed like overripe grapes just by being underneath these fat pyramids. It's like they are crushing them with energy or something. We hear a strange sound resound across our lines, repeated from each of the pyramids near us. It's hard to decipher, but I make it out finally. They say, "Remove yourself from my battlefield, or I will remove you." It is the Xenos. Somehow they are speaking Low Gothic. It is not going all the way of the new Xenos, as waves of Nids seem to be making ramps out of their own bodies and diving onto the pyramids, taking them down, one here, one there. They are literally eating through the strange shifting metal like it was paper. But it gets worse and worse, more and more confusing, as out of nowhere some of the pyramids above us descend and shine lights on the ground. Out of these lights start walking thousands upon thousands of metal men, like skeletons. The message is repeated again, and as one, we now run. We run fast. I do not look back. I do not want to know who is winning. I know only just one thing. The old adage, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. That is a human saying, and may not be respected by whoever wins. And so, gentle listener, we come to the part where I ask your opinion. Together, we forge the narrative. If you wish to be involved, please hit the comments section after you have concluded this entry. Enter a letter and then leave a gap between any comment. The votes are getting larger and more difficult to manage, so please, if you can, use the ascribed letters only. Please? And do bear in mind that when you watch this video, you may wish to visit the comments section first to check the pinned message from me stating when voting has ended. I do need time to write the conclusion after all. So, now, you decide. Letter T for Tyranids win the battle, and basically nom nom the planet and all of its residents. All Necron overlords are different, so you get to choose the temperament of this particular Necron leader towards the lesser races and humanity in specific on this planet. Letters N, M, in November Mike for Necron victory in the battle, and then they give mercy to the humans and simply leave. It does happen. Letters N, S for Necrons win and then slaughter the human inhabitants of the planet and claim it for their dynasty. Of course, all of these things are only if you have the time and inclination to be involved. Now that that is out of the way, welcome, gentle listener. I am Voldemort, and I wish to introduce you to the forces, factions, and war gear of the Warhammer 40k universe. Today, we are going to look at two of the oldest weapons of war in the entire Warhammer setting, the Necron Monolith and the Obelisk. Weapons that have their genesis at the very dawn of the Warhammer universe. They have been used extensively during the War in Heaven, have slept for over 20 million years, some say much longer, but are now a very real factor in the modern era. For the Necrons are ancient without compare, and are the epitome of the strength of old. For more details on this titanic faction, please see my introduction to Cesarek, the Silent King. I feel that that is a brief, but, well, illuminating entry. For the basics, I would like us now to lean on existing wisdom. To quote, Monoliths. Nothing is so emblematic of Necron implacability as a monolith. Like all Necron constructs, it is composed of living metal, a complex semi-sentient alloy that ripples and flows to repair damage in the blink of an eye. The target matrices and motive units, power conduits, and command nodes, all are capable of comprehensive and near-instantaneous self-repair. When combined with the vehicle's slab-sided armor plates, this makes the monolith an incredibly daunting opponent for any enemy. Energy beams are absorbed and dispersed, while tank-busting missiles simply ricochet off the monolith's armored hide, leaving behind minor damage that is swiftly repaired by the living metal's arcane function. The only way to truly halt the advance of a monolith is to target it with a sustained period of focused fire. Only by punching through the armored shell to the vital systems and crew within can there be any hope of ending its threat. Few enemies, however, have the discipline to be so precise under battlefield conditions, and even they must be swift in their targeting, lest they be disintegrated by the monolith's formidable array of weaponry. For a single monolith can muster enough firepower to neutralize a small army in its own right. Most dramatic of its armaments is the particle whip. Channeled through a flowing focused crystal atop the vehicle, a single ear-splitting discharge from the particle whip is enough to debilitate tanks and reduce infantry to molecular vapor. Any armies lucky enough to have survived will then have to run the gauntlet of the monolith's Gauss flux arcs. Mounted on the corners of the monolith's upper layers, these automated defense arrays rake the area around the monolith in pre-programmed execution patterns, finely tuned to predict the panicked motions of foes under fire. Yet the monolith's most fearsome weapon is its Eternity Gate, a system so advanced it makes a particle whip seem primitive by comparison. Originally invented by the Nephrek, this shimmering energy field is nothing less than a captive wormhole bound into the very heart of the monolith. With a simple mental command, the monolith's crew can transform the Eternity Gate into a portal of exile, and those that fail to resist its pull are sucked out of reality entirely, banished forever to a temporal prison from which there can be no escape. Alternatively, the monolith's crew can use the Eternity Gate as a form of dimensional corridor, pulling squads of Necrons from elsewhere on the battlefield, orbiting starships or even far-distant tomb worlds, and deploying them to the monolith's location. So is the monolith rightly known as a forerunner to disaster, for where a monolith teleports onto a planet's surface, an invading Necron army is rarely far behind. To quote, Obelisks. Obelisks are Guardian-class war machines, similar in design to monoliths but wholly different in function and purpose. Seeded throughout the Tombworld cities, their task is to lie in wait for the day when a lesser race chances its arm against the Necron world. Should that hour come, the obelisks will rise as one from the sands to form a grid of floating bastions, all but impervious to enemy weaponry as they crush earthbound invaders with pulses of dense energy, and pluck airborne targets from the skies with invisible waves that tear passing aircraft apart. Obelisks are almost undetectable whilst dormant, a fact that has led to more than one distinctly unpleasant surprise for the invaders of a tomb world. They can be sustained for thousands, even millions of years on the merest trickle of power, an energy emission far beneath the scryings of the younger races. Only when the obelisks detect enemy craft in the skies above their tomb do they wake to full function. Manipulating the planet's gravity, they rise gracefully into the air, their approach swift but silent, and their hulls protected by internalized energy fields. Before even a single landing craft can touch the surface, the web of obelisks is complete, a sentient atmospheric minefield whose operational matrix swiftly shifts to aggression protocols in reaction to approaching threats. Should an enemy aircraft or skimmer stray too close, the obelisk triggers a grav pulse, an expanding sphere of force that sends the intruder spinning out of control even as it shorts out their systems. Assuming the vessel does not simply shatter on impact, the next few moments are filled with desperation for its stricken pilot. If they are sufficiently skilled and fortunate, they might regain control over their craft to remain aloft, only to be met by a barrage of fire from the obelisk's Tesla spheres. Most aircraft never recover from the invisible attack of one of these massive gravity engines, let alone the sustained salvo of crackling Tesla energy that follows it. Fighter squadrons and bomber waves are hurled into unrecoverable dives that end with their flaming wreckages strewn across the landscape. When the skies are clear and the ground war still rages, the obelisks will descend with stately grace to hover close to the planet's surface. There it forms a kind of mobile artillery piece, lending support to the phalanxes that march in its shadow. Upon detecting the presence of unfamiliar life forms or war machines, its graphitic pulses flatten the meager intruders whilst its Tesla energies blast apart anything it still recognizes as a threat. Thus awakened, the obelisks will then form a mobile defense base for its dynasty's phalanxes. From that point onwards, its living metal bulk and canoptic repair systems make it an inviolable anchor around which hinges the greater Necron assault. End quote. And so, we can see the twin threat of these potent weapons of the Necrons. The obelisk is like a mechanical watchdog that, like wraith constructs, defends the old worlds of the Necrons, and is also able to be used to devastating effect in planetary assault. The monolith is truly a thing of terror. Not only due to its weaponry and its durability, but more for its ability to deploy the forces of the Necrons directly into any theatre of war, to be able to make its most powerful adversaries literally wink out of existence, thrust through the Eternity Gate into a seeming realm of nothingness. I can personally attest to the danger of this weapon, having lost a full squad of my finest Blood Angel Terminators on the roll of a dice and the wink of an eye. But more than this, it also means the logistic concerns of the Necrons are far, far less than other races. They can literally have all of their armies sitting on their throne worlds and send out the monoliths, and then teleport, using the Eternity Gate, any number of Necron warriors to anywhere. It is a thing of dread that heralds the end of a world. And with Imhotep spreading his wings across the galaxy, and the Silent King, Cesarek, on the move, it is inevitable that these vast and terrifying floating fortresses will be seen in the skies of many an Imperial or Tau world. Let us hope that those who see them at least die with honor and valor, for there may not be any pity from the living dead, the legions of the Necrons. Voldemort? How are you, Archimedes? And thank you so much for using the phone this time. No, not quite. Still some work to be done. Ratlings. Why did I hire ratlings? Yes, I am aware what they're saying in the 40k orc community in general. Pardon? Okay. Facebook page, 40k orc community, 22nd of February. Scrolling now, Archimedes. Always the focus on Dahumis and knife ears. Well, to be fair, Mr. TC is not projecting things as you ought. There's been a run of chaos too, you know. Yes. I know I have not been covering so much of the orcs, but in my defense, I've been waiting for the psychic awakening. It's only weeks away at the most. Holy throne, it's going to be good. Yes, Archimedes, I do remember. And yes, I'm very, very glad you started to use the phone now. Thank you. Yes. Next week? No, you don't have to tell me again. I am well aware of how good you are at crumping. Very, very aware. Right then. Next week for War Gear Wednesday, I was thinking of the chopper, the extinction level weapon. No? By Thorondor's feathers. Really? I don't think they're ready for that. Of course, Archimedes. Got it. Thy will be done. It means yes, boss. Now, no matter what you do today, do try to make some time for fun. Toodaloo.